You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the December 2025 regular council meeting for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with presentations by Kelly Harrell and Lori McKenzie of Horizon Health Network and Alex Henderson of the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. Under new business, Council will move to establish dates for the 2026 Council and Committee of the Whole meetings. Council will also move to perform several year-end account transfers. Finally, Council will move to appoint the inaugural members of the Community Wellbeing Task Force for a one-year term and to confirm a meeting schedule. Now let's join Council in the Moosehead Room at the Garcelon Civic Center in St. Stephen.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Municipal District of St. Stephen Council agenda for Wednesday, December 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And before I call to order, I think we're going to do a little bit of a celebration here tonight for our recent achievements. And just so everyone knows, this is ginger ale, not champagne or rye, whatever you might want to think it, but it is ginger ale. I don't think I've done a cheer online on the fancy TV before, but here we go. Anyway, here is to all the work by all the levels that were involved. And I'll start with Future St. Stephen, Rivers and the board for all their activity on these files. And that involves, everyone had a different part to play on the board, and I appreciate everything that they did to get us to where we're at. And then I'll jump over to the staff. Appreciate all the work the staff had to do to bring this across the line. It took a lot of work. And thank you, Jeff, for taking the lead, because it was an honor to be attending with you on those meetings with developers. You played a crucial role in getting these across the line as well, and much appreciated. And council before that. And there's so many councils right back to 2012 that had a lot of work to play in that. And there's previous future St. Stephen presidents before yourself that were involved. You know, I had a conversation with the developer yesterday, and he said when it was, had a meeting with Jeremy Barham, as he's passing through, and I know everyone had a part to play in that too. So I want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you to the taxpayers of St. Stephen, to supporting us through this venture as well. We're all in this, and now it's time to see this build to fruition, and then we got to support this thing, and that's going to support us as well. And I'm looking forward to what this is going to generate in our community, the energy that's going to create. It's going to bring us to a whole other level. It really is. So I am very excited about the time that we announced this hotel, and I'm not just focused on the hotel. The recent hotel or apartment building too, out of the Board Arena. All these things are great. It's all about and the clinic is coming too. Yes, that's right. I mean, we could keep cheering all night long, but anyways, here's to all the recent achievements, and congratulations to all. Cheers. But I need a drink. Thank you. And if I missed anyone, my apologies, because there was a lot of people and a lot of years there that went past. Well, hey, thank you to the developers. Sorry. To the developers. Having confidence in us and our community, and stepping out to the plate for us, and making this happen as well. It's going to take the developers to do this. So my apologies for missing the main one, the reason we were making it. And I'm going to mention Mr. DeWinter and Tressa Bevington. They're very crucial players in this, and I appreciate all the work they did and their investment in us. So thank you. Whew. Okay. Let's jump right into take a mover and seconder for the proposed resolution that the agenda for the regular council meeting of December 17th, 2025 be approved. So moved. Councilor Harding. Second. Deputy Mayor Wheaton. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I'll take a mover and seconder for the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 26, 2025 be approved as presented. Councilor Heislip. Second. Councilor Wright. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, no, I don't need to move on sector. I got the active transportation update presentation by Kelly Harrell and Lori McKenzie on behalf of Horizon Public Health. The podium is yours. Thank you, Lori.
I'm Lori McKenzie, and this is my colleague Kelly Harrell, and we're with Horizon Public Health. And thank you for having us back this evening. This is our second time presenting on this, so we're pretty excited about the movement that it's seeing. Kelly and I are here to recap the key benefits of active transportation and share the support that it's received through various groups within our community. After our presentation, Alex Henderson, the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission Planning Director, will share an active transportation concept plan developed by his team. Next slide, Jeff, please. So, the National Active Transportation Strategy defines active transportation as the movement of people or goods powered by human activity. Active transportation includes walking, cycling, the use of human-powered or hybrid mobility aids such as wheelchairs, scooters, e-bikes, rollerblades, snowshoes, or cross-country skis. So, thank you. And we're going to recap. We gave you this information last time, but we just want to give you a really quick recap on the benefits. So, as you know, access to transportation has long been a challenge in our entire region. Developing connected routes would help everyone in our community, especially those who lack reliable transportation. And from the health side, we know that regular physical activity is proven to help prevent and manage health conditions. We also know that starting healthy habits early in life help maintain healthy bodies and promotes aging well. So from the safety side, creating safer routes will encourage more people to walk or bike to their destinations. Economic, in addition to personal cost savings and savings for our healthcare system, active transportation can stimulate economic growth through tourism and greater access to businesses. And on the social and community side, having connected routes promotes social connectedness and creates a more equitable and vibrant, livable community. Next slide. So Kelly and I reached out to various groups for feedback on the concept of an active transportation plan and would like to share some of that feedback and quotes with you. So from our newcomers. So newcomers often depend on bicycles as a means of transportation to get to and from work. In some situations, this is even true in winter, as they live just that much farther than walking, and walking is not possible. Bike lanes are incredibly important as it ensures a dedicated path on roads. Next slide. Love this one. This one's my favorite, I have to admit. So I'm sure we can all remember Dot escorting countless students safely across King Street to St. Stephen Elementary. Today, we know that fewer students are walking or biking to school. However, we're hopeful that the intentional planning of connected active transportation routes will help reverse this trend. This change will not happen overnight, but experience from other communities has shown us that it does happen. For example, according to Fredericton's traffic engineer, the city has seen an average of 15% annual increase in active transportation over the past 4 years since they've been investing in more connected routes. Now, Kelly's going to provide some feedback from our schools.
Great. Thank you, Lori. So so as Lori mentioned, so we have reached out to some local schools as well here in St. Stephen, and we received some feedback from staff actually on how safe paths for walking and biking and other methods of active transportation could impact our community. So here, as you can see, are some of the main themes that were shared by those who responded to our survey. You'll notice that these themes are very much in line with what the research demonstrates, which Lori touched on earlier. With having more connected active transportation routes, respondents said it would. So the first one here is it will increase physical activity for children and adults. It'll decrease traffic congestion. And I should mention that we recently had a conversation with a retired elementary school teacher who I will not name, but might be in this room. And she said that there's been a dramatic decrease in the number of children who walk and or bike to school compared to 30 years ago. And surprisingly now we also have, unsurprisingly, we have a significant increase in traffic congestion during drop-off and pickup times compared to 30 years ago. So another comment made by school staff was they felt it would improve mental and physical health for youth, increase safety for our children, improve overall social and community connections, and it would also provide environmental benefits. So now, in line with these themes, we just want to highlight some of the responses, in particular around safety, because we feel that's just so important. If you want to go to the next slide there, Jeff. So the first quote here is, "I drive to work every day, and in the nicer weather, I see students on scooters, and I just pray they do not hit a crack and fall." The second statement here is they, and they're referencing, of course, active transportation routes, are extremely limited. Children looking to use non-motorized wheeled transportation generally default to using sidewalks. This is dangerous for pedestrians and less than ideal. And we feel this is an important comment actually to kind of hone in on here for a second, because not everybody realizes that it's actually illegal to drive a bike on a sidewalk. Traffic laws require cyclists to ride along the side of the road because with cars going in the same direction. But when you think about King Street having two big schools sort of situated along that route, I mean, I know I certainly have seen children riding bikes on sidewalks, and understandably so, because during peak traffic times on King Street, can you imagine a little kid on a bicycle riding along all the traffic going to and fro? So we do think it's understandable, but really what we feel we need is infrastructure that promotes safety for cars and for bikes. So the next quote here is unsafe sidewalks that are run down and not accessible, as well as vehicles driving too close to bikers and runners. So again, all of those safety related things. So for the next slide here, we asked folks if they could share one idea with the municipality on the importance of active transportation infrastructure. And here are some of the answers that we received. So as you can see, one quote there says, "We are facing a mental health crisis all around. People are spending more time indoors due to convenience. By creating these active transportation routes, children and adults will be given more opportunity to fit some physical activity and fresh air into their daily lives. I feel this could help with overall mental health and physical health." Another quote here is, this person felt it was really important to highlight that we need barriers to protect bike lanes from automobiles. Another person quoted, "Recreation is the heart of a healthy community. When children and young adults don't have safe places to walk, bike, run, or move freely in accessible ways, we lose more than activity. We risk the long-term health and vibrancy of our community. Investing in active transportation infrastructure is investing in our people." And then we have one final thought here. This person here said, "This is a great idea," of course referencing investing in infrastructure. "As a runner and someone who has lived in both Calgary, Fredericton, and St. Stephen, I have seen the benefits in having an accessible path for active transportation. There have been so many times where I have been unable to run on the sidewalks in St. Stephen, but risk my life in running on the sides of the roads due to vehicles. It's only a matter of time before someone gets hurt. Thank you for taking on this initiative." So just to summarize this a little bit, we feel that safety concerns for children cannot be overstated, particularly when you think about biking. And you may think, well, we don't have a lot of children biking around town right now. Well, clearly, and that's because we don't have adequate infrastructure in place. But even in saying this, we do have some children regularly biking around town. And while we love seeing this, we also recognize that we need to build the infrastructure to keep these children safe, and also to encourage more kids to get outside and to engage in physical activity in this way. And as Lori mentioned earlier, Fredericton has put a concentrated effort into enhancing their active transportation routes. And as a result, over the past 4 years, they have seen, as she said, a 15% increase per year in usage. And they track that all with trail cams and numbers. They have the data to support how increasing the active transportation has made a drastic difference in their community. So for the next slide, while we know that people of all ages and backgrounds would benefit from active transportation routes, another group especially interested in this is seniors. So we talked to a number of seniors who told us that sidewalks around town are uneven and many cannot walk on them due to safety concerns. And every person we spoke to referred to the sidewalks as the exact same wording. They're a tripping hazard. We know that concrete blocks, of course, shift around, and of course it makes uneven edges, that type of thing. But one senior said she often sees people walking and jogging on the road beside the sidewalk for this reason. And you'll note we mentioned similar feedback from school staff earlier regarding that same thought. So when seniors were asked if they would use paved, multi-purpose paths in town, one person said, just look at the beautiful flat path that we have along the river. It is so well used by seniors and people of all ages, biking, rollerblading, walking, running, like just all sorts of people engaging in physical activity and active transportation. And we were told that many seniors go right to the SPCA and walk the entire length of the path and then walk back again. So one comment in line with that we received was that the path is too short and we need more paths like this in town. So another key point that we heard was around how important it would be to have connected routes. We were told that seniors who live close to the walking path actually have to drive down to access it because they don't feel safe walking from their home, which is close by, down to the path. And we just simply need better infrastructure in place to support people with mobility challenges and all other sorts of issues like that. Another senior told us that they see many benefits and opportunities for community connectedness, and then said, just look at the walking path. Like, I run into people there all the time. I start conversations with, I make connections with. And when you think about the loneliness factor in seniors, like, this is a really important thing that we should be mindful of. So Lori and I, you can do the next slide there now, Jeff. So Lori and I just want to say we're grateful for this opportunity to speak with all of you again here tonight. And in closing, we'd like to say that we see this initiative as a long-term plan, so one that would be rolled out alongside routine road construction and in accordance, of course, with budgetary considerations. We certainly want to be smart about this. We're not recommending anything beyond that for sure. So this evening, we've shared information on how an accessible, connected system of active transportation routes would benefit newcomers, children, and seniors, but truly this would benefit people of all ages and backgrounds. And unfortunately, in our province, there have been cycling and pedestrian accidents with children and adults, which in some cases have tragically resulted in fatalities. And we're here tonight to say that improving our active transportation infrastructure has many benefits, but ultimately it promotes safety and it protects all who live, work, and play in our community. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You're up next, Alex, on the same topic.
Should I come up here, or would you prefer? Here? I'm here now. All right. So thank you, Council. So this is, I took a little bit of a different approach to look at some of St. Stephen's past as we go forward. So as you know, you just adopted the municipal plan, so that's bylaw M4. Next slide, please, Jeff. And in that bylaw, you have some number of policies. They touch on land use, future development, infrastructure. And when it comes to streets and roads, there's policy here that gives some guidance for future infrastructure decisions. So the first one there is council shall consider the needs and safety of people of all ages and shall consider transportation modes other than automobiles, recreation vehicle, horse riding, pedestrians, cyclists, e-scooters, wheelchairs, in its transportation, recreation planning, and regulating parking. Next slide, or next dash there. Now, keeping in mind, and many people not aware of this, but the Municipal District of St. Stephen does not control the roads outside of the former town. So if you lived outside of the town of St. Stephen 2022 and earlier, the Municipal District of St. Stephen really doesn't have anything to do with the roads. They're under the jurisdiction of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and the Minister of DTI. But council can have a role to encourage safe use of the shoulders, because certainly people in rural areas of the municipal district are walking their dogs. They may be pushing a stroller. They're walking along a shoulder. Having good shoulders in the rural areas is as important as having good multi-purpose trails in town. But it's an advocacy piece more than an infrastructure investment piece, because you just don't control those roads. Next slide, please. So when you do resurfacing, it's important to consider how you can make adjustments to include more users in a safe way. Next dash there. So there's a distinction here in the municipal plan, and it's an important one, between streets and roads. Streets are places more than they are just a means of transportation. It's the public right of way. It's not just a place to speed through as fast as possible. It's part of the community, and they should be designed as such, meaning they're narrower, they're sharper turns, they're designed to be visually appealing, add value to commercial and residential properties next to it, have landscaping and lighting features, and create that sense of place. Next slide, please. Roads are what we think of when we think of automobile infrastructure, and they're just as important, but they serve a totally different function, even though both are the public right-of-way. Roads are for getting from point A to point B as fastly, efficiently, and safely as possible, and they're designed for automobiles, because that's the culture we live in. We have automobiles, and that's the way we get from one community to the next. There's really no other options. So when you think of roads, think of Route 3, Route 170. You don't want to have bicycles or pedestrians or anything on these roads. But safe shoulders is important for these types of situations. And considering that is an advocacy piece with DTI, it's something really not in the control of council, but something you could push for. Next slide, please. One other thing that's related to all this in street design is the importance of street trees. Now, I took a screenshot from Google, the same location on King Street. Before and after, there were street plantings of trees. And when you think about streets as a place for all users, not just a place to pass through as quickly as possible in a vehicle, you think about with the importance of street trees. It adds greenery, it adds beauty, it can add value to adjacent properties. It's something that becomes a part of community revitalization. And so, next dash here. This unfortunately had to happen, I think, due to improper planting of these trees, and it impacted the sidewalk infrastructure. So when we're thinking about street design, it's really important to think ahead to make sure that this is done well, so you don't have to go backwards in a way. Next slide, please. Again, just another beautiful scene when there was some street trees along the King Street. Next slide, please. I took a few little snapshots. You can just jump ahead, Jeff. That was the old Dooley's building, the Stedmans. This is the old St. Stephen Inn. You can see some of the beautiful elm trees that existed along King Street. That's the Guardian now, the old tourist bureau. Next slide. This is where the Superstore is, actually, in Kent, across the way. And look at how much more of a place that is with the trees that have added character, shade, beauty. And this is what it would look like today. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but it doesn't have the same character or impact. It doesn't evoke a sense of place. So again, street trees are an important consideration when you're doing street infrastructure works. Next slide, please. You go back into history of St. Stephen, some of these beautiful scenes, and you look at who's actually using the space. It's not just cars, of course, we didn't have cars back then, but you have people walking in the public right-of-way. It's the public's right-of-way. Some road safety rules were designed later, but you have wagons, you have just people riding horses, you have streetcars, again, street trees. But it adds a whole different dynamic when you start thinking of a street as a place versus somewhere to just drive through really quick. Next slide, please. Again, that's the same shot today. Okay, it was talked about in the Horizon Health presentation, but bicycles and sidewalks, people get this kind of mixed up. And under the Motor Vehicle Act, a sidewalk isn't a place for a bicycle. Now, you're not likely going to be pulled over by the police if you're riding a bike as a kid on a sidewalk. But under the definitions of the law, it is not a place for bicycles. Bicycles are meant to have the rights and responsibilities and duties of somebody driving a car. So next slide, please. If you think about, we were just talking about this, but you think about the way we're designing our streets. We're not really designing it for people using other means of transportation anymore. Who would really want to send their kid down this street? And this is not King Street, but it's similar to a lot of cities in North America who are designing streets this way. So we got to start thinking back to the past when we're going to design streets. Next slide, please. Just a little statistic there that in 2023 there were 348 pedestrian or cyclist fatalities, and there was 1,025 driver fatalities. That's a single driver in a vehicle. That's about a third of the number, but only 6% of commuter trips in the last census was done by way of pedestrian or bicycles. So there is a higher chance of being hit if you're outside of a vehicle, unfortunately, on our streets. So what can we do? There's a number of well-studied, well-documented solutions, and they're not actually that complicated. When you think about the crosswalk that Dot guarded for all those years, imagine there was a median island right in the middle, right where the center line is, where if somebody was driving through like a maniac, people could jump onto that safety island. And that visual obstruction is a cue to the driver to slow down. Having to navigate through spaces as a driver where there's lots of lines painted and parked cars and street trees close to it does provide a sense of, oh, I got to pay attention, I got to slow down. And so having these built into your street, not road, again, we're not about stopping cars where they need to go fast and efficient from point A to point B as quickly as possible, but in streets, we got to start thinking about them differently. Sidewalks, of course, are part of the solution, but separated bicycle facilities. So that can reduce traffic deaths with cyclists by 44%. Road diets, this is an interesting one. And it ties back to the idea that if we are designing roads to be wide, clear sight lines, where you as a driver really aren't stopped from going maybe 80 kilometers an hour, but the speed sign's posted at 35 because you're in a school zone. We've designed that street wrong. We should be designing the street in a narrow fashion where we want cars to slow down. Next slide, please. If you think about sending kids out in the street, kids are not going outdoors as much anymore, people say. And it's true. And kids aren't going to school on their own human power, walking to school or biking to school. But parents are also just afraid to do it because of those statistics I quoted in news and 24-hour news cycles and such. But when we start thinking about what could we do to actually encourage this part of our culture again, something we used to have that we've lost, we have to start making these places safer. And something like this is something I would trust my daughter to ride down. I wouldn't in that earlier picture. Next slide, please. So we have policing, we have traffic cameras and other initiatives across North America to slow down people and get people to comply. And it's expensive and just a constant battle. But if we start looking at different design options for the street, there's an intuitive sense to that. You think about, I'll give you an example, coming down Route 3, past McDonald's, you go over the bridge, and you're going into the Old Town of St. Stephen, passing the high school, and the number of people who are going 70 kilometers an hour there is unreal, but it's actually posted as a school zone. The street was designed before some of these considerations, and that's just the width street we have. But going forward, maybe we should be talking about bringing that street in a little narrower, providing some visual cues to the drivers that, hey, you're entering a slow area. But the way the road is designed today, unfortunately, it gives the wrong impression that you should be speeding through that area. Next slide, please. Again, we're using highway design manuals to develop residential streets. Like this is a new subdivision in Arizona. Next slide, please. But this is how we used to do subdivisions. Streets were much narrower in the past. And again, street trees provide a visual obstructions, things that make drivers pay attention to their surroundings a lot more, parked vehicles on the street. All this actually helps drivers inadvertently drive safer, even though they're having to pay more attention to their surroundings. Next slide, please. Again, just showing you an example of one street that's 6 meters wide versus one that is probably closer to 20 meters wide, or maybe a little less than that. But one where there's parked car and an oncoming car on the right, and which one are you driving faster, right? This one you have to stop essentially to let a car pass you, or pass, versus the one on the left, you could speed around this car going 90 kilometers an hour, no problem. Again, what we design is what we're telling people is safe to drive. We drive as fast as the street is wide. Next slide, please. This is our current DTI standard around street design, about 5 meters per driving lane, 10 meters of pavement. Next slide, please. But engineers are starting to look at this again. In other jurisdictions, you have engineers who've done 3-meter travel lanes. So this would be a much narrower right-of-way in total. And St. Stephen has new streets like this. School Street is similar to this in design. Next slide, please. I think it just click a few. There you go. So if you had curb to curb at King Street, you could, if you were to narrow those drive lanes, maintain a center turning lane, as well as add a dedicated separated bike lane, as well as keeping your sidewalk. So this could be a concept for redoing some of the painting lines on King Street. Next slide, please. And there's some streets in St. Stephen that are somewhat collectors. So you think of Queensway, you think of Queen Street West, you think of Union Street. You have a lot of small streets feeding into these streets. And there's a lot more traffic on these just because they're feeder type, or they're collector type streets. And you might, this would be areas you would benefit from separating out the infrastructure and having a multi-use path. And so this would be 9 meters of pavement if you include the 3-meter driving lane, 3-meter driving lane, and a 3-meter multi-use path. And that's the width of the river trail. So in total, this is actually less pavement than the DTI basic highway standard. And in this case, you're actually adding a street tree. You could intersperse that with on-street parking. The drainage utility corridor could be a swale, might be a curb, depending on your situation, but you could potentially run the sewer and water main under that utility corridor. And the multi-use path, if you built that out of asphalt, you're running asphalt instead of concrete and asphalt for the expensive sidewalk repair, which is a whole different kettle of fish than doing an asphalt paving job. So it might be easier on the plow equipment that Public Works runs. Next slide, please. Some cases, you might not need any new infrastructure at all. You just might have to work towards the narrowing of the street, to putting in street trees to add those visual obstructions. Also, maybe putting in sharrows to say that this is a shared space, that cyclists could be on this road. Some of the tertiary streets. So these would be, they're not thoroughfares. These are your basic streets. But again, just the act of actually narrowing up when you repave, not making it as wide as possible, can actually make it safer for it to be a shared street. And if you had sidewalks in existence, then there'd be something maybe to look at maintaining to not reduce levels of service. So that'd be a tertiary street. Next slide, please. And this would conclude this presentation, but this is a proposed layout of how that could work. So the red being those primary corridors in town, sort of the arterials, if you will. Green, as I mentioned, Queen Street West, Union Street, Queensway, Pleasant. These are sort of collector routes, which you might have that separated multi-use path on. And the remainder would be places where just actively doing narrowing, planting street trees, having sharrows showing it's a shared street, that signage that shows children may be at play. Those are the feeder or local streets that are in yellow. So we have a map of it here too for council to look at, and it's something we can make available if anybody wants to have a look at that. But next slide, please. The next step would be meeting with the municipal engineer to review this, to talk about these case by case. And there could be situations where they feasibly couldn't be done just as it's shown in that cross section. There may be existing conditions, existing curbing that would have to be maintained, or for drainage reasons, there could be stormwater considerations that would alter that. So it's not necessarily that these are proposed to you as engineering schematics by any means. They're more of guideposts about how you could include active transportation. And each cross-section we showed you is based on 20 meters of right-of-way width or less. The secondary one was a 16-meter right-of-way. So if this is adapted into your tendering projects where you include it where you can, working towards safer routes for children, active travel, safer, narrower streets, for lower speed streets, let's say, and providing for street trees. As time goes on, with that kind of effort, each and every time you redo one of these streets, you're going to go back to a time where we have some of these streetscapes with the visual charms that St. Stephen certainly has had, and also restore a sense of safety to the streets for people to let their children be out in the environment and get around town using their own 2 feet or their little bike. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, you just made me think of Prince William Street is one for me that I struggle going the right speed limit because it's so, like you were just explaining, you can feel like you can go a lot faster down Prince William. Like there's certain streets like that. Yeah. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Kelly and Lori and Alex and Xander as well, because when they came and did the presentation a while back, doesn't seem that long ago, but I'll tell you, they're very enthusiastic. They had asked if I wanted to be part of the committee, and I said yes. And of course, when you think of having bike lanes in St. Stephen, I was like, oh, I don't know. But I'll tell you, they're very enthusiastic, and I mean, to me, it's more than bicycle lane. It's safety for everybody, right? And I was telling Kelly the other day, my grandson came home and said, Mom got me a bicycle. He was so excited. And he said, do you think the town would ever be interested in having bicycle lanes? I said, well, as a matter of fact, we're working on it. But anyway, when I showed him the map yesterday, he was like, oh, this is really going to happen. But I mean, and he's been on that bike day in and day out. But anyway, it's a wonderful initiative, and I think everybody would benefit. And like Alex said, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. But I really think that the town, that we should support this because there'd be a lot of benefit that would come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It does take time and get herself down the road and start thinking 20 years out. So I agree. Councilor Rodas?
I know that we had talked about putting a tender out for doing many roads at once this summer, but my question for Xander was, are there actually companies that focus on not only helping with the streets, but doing the scaping around it as well, the landscaping around it? Or how do cities, for instance, put out tenders for these big projects and ensure that whatever is happening as far as the paving is in alignment with the rest of it? Because it seems like there is a lot going on.
Yeah, so as you know, we do a lot of our engineering work with Dillon Engineering, and fortunately their firm is of such a size that they have expertise in a lot of areas, including landscape design and transportation engineering and traffic engineering. So where we got is I had the privilege of sitting with the group and working through this process as well, is our goal tonight was to, as you'll know over the years of working with me, I don't like putting resources into something that there's no interest. We're looking for feedback from council tonight to say whether there's enough interest to continue putting resources towards this. Tentatively, Alex and I have a meeting on Tuesday with our engineer, who was coming down for another reason, but has agreed to sit and have coffee with us and discuss this specifically towards the tender that will be going out in the early new year, about what can be done within what we're planning to do in 2026, and have those real life conversations about, if we're going to do it, we have an opportunity, because we're going to be tearing up so many roads, redoing so many roads, and if we can get away with, as Alex indicated, less pavement, right? That $5.1 million that we were planning on borrowing. Either we can borrow less and have less burden on the annual taxpayer, or we can maybe squeeze another road or two in there, like depending on how this all shakes out. Our engineering team is actually quite intrigued by the whole concept. They've been waiting for this map that Alex and Xander were able to put together for us. But our intention would be to certainly explore having the portions that fit this map and our identified roads included in our tender in January.
Yeah, I just want to kind of tag on that, and I'll let you. There's also, I mean, there's a return on investment on this as well. I know we're looking at us right now as a community, but there's others looking at us, and they may say, oh, geez, they're stepping up here. You know, they're starting to look at bike lanes and transportation in their community, and people move here, right? So there is that return to think about, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I just had one question because the street where the schools are coming down, King, it was mentioned quite a bit. Are we limited because that's also a provincial road? Are we limited in how much leeway we have as a municipality because of that?
It adds a layer of challenge. I wouldn't say we're limited. One of the things that DTI did advise us is that the paving project scheduled for next year, that we are all under the assumption they were going to be doing on our behalf. Actually, they're providing the funding, and we will be project managing, which is a break from the traditional for the designated highway program. But we're happy for that. So there is a consultation method that has to go alongside that. But ultimately, that route is still a municipal road. It is still a municipal asset. But we do consult with our friends at DTI and make sure that try and find our compromise or our agreements to make sure that both sides are happy. Partially to keep that funding flowing, and partially because it's always good to have a second opinion on these changes. So it's I wouldn't say it's limiting. I would say it adds a layer of complexity. But I think as long as we're doing it in the right way, within the right planned fashion, generally, and Alex will know this too, DTI has worked well with us in the past on whether it's new lights at the Dairy Queen or over the years, we've made changes to the route, and they've been, quite reasonable to work with, and I don't have any reason to think they'd be any different now.
Yeah, and then there's the other added, it could be a bonus as well, is it open up other avenues of funding, like that we could, instead of using our funds for the pavement, and we could narrow our piece, and maybe there's funding allotted, and there usually is, for the bike lane piece, and that can add to our whole agenda and make it happen too. So it opens up other avenues. Yeah, Councillor Heislop.
Yeah, if you want to be vocal or want to show some interest in it, I'm definitely for it. I mean, some of the nicest streets I've been on is the first time I ever went to Grand Falls was a divided street that they had with the middle, and Halifax. Bangor has the same thing, and it's some of those streets are one of the nicest streets you can go on, and it's not only residential, but it's commercial as well. It also opens up different ones. I know that I was approached by Madeleine Hutchins at one time, and they had a lot of funding for tree planting in communities as well. So there's a lot of funding for that kind of stuff, and having that middle island you can jump on. I like that. It look really good. But let's not fool ourselves about cost, though. I mean, you're saving on pavement or asphalt, but you're also going to costly on other things like curbing and stuff like that. So but that'd be good to take a look at. We don't know that yet. I'm just saying that there's other things that's going to cost us besides that. But I think we should start looking at that. And if it costs us a little more, and we have to take a little bite in the budget, maybe we should start that. And just because you got to start somewhere. That's why we're borrowing money for streets. We got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. Put this off, and it'll take us 40 or 50 years to get where we want to be. So.
It's funny you bring up Grand Falls, because I had that conversation with Mr. DeWinter yesterday. He's building a hotel right now in Grand Falls. It's going to be identical to the one they're doing here, and that was one thing I brought up is how appealing that downtown, that center piece, that center median going through. I actually brought that up yesterday. So thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the professional piece on it there, and how we have to get there, and how we can get there and adapt. Thank you. All right. Public comment period.
feel a lot like the soccer field upgrade to me. There was consultation talking. I don't know if I would fully agree it's an update. We're looking at putting in 60-plus unit onto a road that is already delayed in high traffic time with Tim Hortons, multiple schools. So we talk about helping with the economics. If you take away parking in front of businesses, that's huge. People aren't walking, so I don't know how those businesses are going to lose parking, and you expect them to be able to do well. I don't see traffic being able to handle losing lanes. The skate park, we're talking about having things for kids to do. I haven't heard any updates on if there is a plan of where it's going. A lot of different municipalities, towns have put in bike lanes, and they've also removed them because they've put them into places where traffic is in a lot, and they go, oops, this wasn't a good idea. So we have all kinds of opportunity to use different roads other than King Street to improve bike paths and accessibility. I think putting it right onto King Street, taking away business, is being able to do okay. It's just one more strike against them. The BIA has had an initiative to put solar lights on the walking path. That makes people feel safer. So I'm happy that you guys supported with that. I've watched the decline of people walking, and it's because we have such a homeless problem in our area that's not being addressed in an effective way. So I have adults that don't feel safe all over the place walking. That's a huge reason why people aren't walking in our community. And to think that a bike lane is going to change that people are going to just let their little children go, is just completely unrealistic in my mind. And I've watched in the past 2-3 years, trees get cut down nonstop because of the homeless, because people are breaking into places. You just look at King Street Takeout. They had trees all around that, but they had homeless inside there. So they got cut down. All around behind me, the trees have been cut down. So we've been losing a ton of trees because we're not addressing the safety. So those are some of my takeaways. I don't think that they're going to impact anything, because I think the decisions have already been made, but I still get to voice it.
Well, no decision's been made, and you can't have a short vision either. You got to look farther ahead. You know, all these things that we're troubled with today, we're working on them, and we're going to work our way through them the best we can. And we shouldn't let that hinder moving forward on other topics. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, the podium is yours.
Hi, my name's Anthony. I'd just like to say education plus compassion equals hope. So if we open our minds and our hearts, we can be a community together instead of divided.
Thank you, Anthony. All good?
Good evening, Celia Morgan from Ward 2. Just on the topic of the active transportation, from my standpoint, and it was raised, the actual streets need to be fixed, because you know that we can't go up the sidewalks because of all the orange markings. That needs to be addressed before we get to bike lanes, in my mind. I wanted to just mention for the Wellbeing Task Force, I would like to know who on the committee will be accepting impact statements from residents in the town. Since council is only voting on the task force members later tonight, I would like someone to reach out to me to let me know who that contact person will be. I would also hope that the task force members will be provided the results of the community safety survey presented from the Canadian Centre of Safer Communities back in June, along with a copy of the original survey responses from the residents, so that members of the task force can view verbatim comments that were not captured in the final report. I want to personally recognize and thank Celeste Caswell for everything she does in keeping the office running smoothly. She's very helpful and a very and pleasurable to deal with. Lastly, there's been an array of Christmas events and bazaars over the past month in our town. So I don't want to miss anybody. So to everyone who organized or participated in those events, thank you for spreading a little Christmas cheer in our community. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas as well. Is he coming up? Oh, no, is he coming up or leaving? Yeah. Hey, David.
Mr. Mayor, David Whittingham, I live in town, Ward 2. Just a comment about the hotel being in the tourism industry. Really excited about seeing that, and I think the whole community is, and I think we feel confident this actually is going to happen this time, and especially with the developer that's been chosen, or has chosen St. Stephen with Amsterdam Inns and the De Winter family, have a proven track record in New Brunswick of developing and operating medium-sized hotels. So that's really exciting, and it finally we'll get to see the Civic Center, maximize its potential, and seeing events coming here year-round. So it's really exciting. My other comment, which is regarding the Wellness Committee that's being formed, and the representation. At a previous council meeting, councillors mentioned about that the agency operating the shelter should be, have a voice or a place at that table. And when I see the listing of the makeup right now, it's not specifically identified as Neighbourhood Works being on there, and whether they should be or not. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Hello.
I also live in Ward 2, and I'm actually specifically here to express my full and complete support of an active transportation plan. I think it's long overdue in our community, and I think it will very much help to bring more individuals into our community, increase our sense of vibrancy, and I think ultimately will improve public safety. And then also, as a resident, I wanted to say thank you to Council for your hard work on the housing development that's coming in place, the collaborative healthcare clinic that we finally got to see at the end of the year, as well as the hotel. So congratulations, guys. I know you work really hard on that, so thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay. All right. Okay, next up, need a mover and seconder that council establish the following meeting dates pursuant to the council procedure by law, subject to the changes and additions outlined herein. Harding and Heislip. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Oh, this is a long one. Okay, here we go. I need a mover and seconder. The council approves and directs the administration to implement the following transactions. I'll take the mover and seconder now, please.
You don't have to read it. No.
It's published. You can waive reading if the council agrees.
Why, thank you, Councilor Otis. All right, no, appreciate that. Thank you. All right, as it's written?
Yes, you.
Okay, I'll take a mover and seconder.
I move.
Councilor Cornish,
I'll
Deputy, I gotta get Councilor Otis. All those in favor? Or any questions?
There's a question over there.
Did you have one?
Okay, Councilor Greenlaw.
Yeah, just on the money that's coming out of the general operating fund, can you explain where that excess comes from so that we can transfer it there?
There we go. So Jeff, myself, and the other department heads went through the budget and took a look at areas that were budgeted for 2025, and then compare that to the expenditures for 2025. And then we took it, and in those areas, we decided that instead of having that end up sitting in surplus, that we'd be better off moving it for use in future years. So I think there's an actual schedule there that was attached to this that actually kind of shows that, but that's really where the money's coming from. It's coming from budgets that are existing for 2025, but expenditures that didn't meet up to those budgets.
So there's a thing that shows what line items that the surpluses were in?
I think there was page 18.
Oh, I'm on the, okay.
On my sheet anyway.
It's on the main thing. I go right into the
Yeah,
meeting.
main agenda package.
Okay. Nope, all right, I'll have a look at it. I just want to make sure that, because if it's something, if we've got excess money to that amount, I'd like to know what we didn't spend or what we over budgeted for the previous year.
An example of that was the question that was asked at a previous council meeting with regards to the special project that for corporate services for software and that sort of thing. So there was money, for example, left over from that we're I believe it's in that schedule anyway, that we're moving over again to allow for use in future year.
That should also make you feel better that it didn't cost as much as we anticipated for that project in the finance department. Yep. So, Jeff, you were going to say something on that?
Just as, I guess, an appreciation for the work that Frank and his team and the contracted services from MNP that all went into getting our finances up to date. It was. I told the guys when we sat and we actually went through this project. It was a joy to get back to doing what we're supposed to do at the end of the year, which is doing a full analysis and forecasting for the last month and identify where there are unspent funds and to keep the year-end surpluses from, they shouldn't be $800, $900, $1 million like it have been over the years here. So to have our financial situation to a point where we could accurately do this, and as Councillor Greenlaw said, not actually essentially lose access to funds for a 2-year period till it comes back in. But we could actually move it into the reserves and be able to bring it back out in January if council decides that there's something that needs to come in that wasn't in our budget or anything like that. It was a nice to get back to how business is supposed to operate. So for those of you that may still be on council come next December, you'll see a very similar schedule come up again. And what we do is we take this data, and as Councillor Greenlaw alluded to, is we evaluate why we had a variance. In the big one that Frank mentioned with the special projects, that was because we didn't know what we were going to do with that funding. I know government gets often put with the brush of, you spend your budget so you don't lose it the next year. Obviously, our management team doesn't operate that way. We didn't feel there was good expenditures to come from those lines, so we didn't spend it. Now we're putting it into future things, whether that's mitigating tax increases or new projects. So I think that's a kudos to the team here for being on the ball and being willing to, and making good management choices throughout the year. When we get to the end of the year and people that we've entrusted with significant budgets are giving a lot of it back, that puts for me, that makes a lot of trust in the team that you've got here in the office. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to the team that I'm privileged to work with on these regards.
Councilor Cornish?
Jeff and Frank, year and a half ago, time flies, I can't remember exactly. I can remember we brought this young group in to look at that process. We talked about the hotels and the other things this evening, but this whole new process and procedure, Frank, that you had a lot to do with, even the new staff that was hired, others didn't have to have any more positions. I believe that the public doesn't realize what we went through to change what we had into what we have now. And I talked to Frank several times over coffee once in a while when he recognizes me, and that is that the process is entirely different. It's mechanized, and the team that we did finally choose absolutely did what they were supposed to do. So I thank you, gentlemen. I particularly thank your staff for being able to work with the new processes, and that is a big challenge when you have to go that far. Thanks again, gentlemen, and thank your staff.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, no more questions. I had a mover, I had a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, I'll take a mover and seconder. The council appoint the inaugural members of the Community Wellbeing Task Force for a one-year term in accordance with the approved terms of reference as follows. I'll take a mover and seconder first. Councillor Rodas. Councillor Harding. Okay.
As council's aware, one of the members that has been recommended has since withdrawn his name and suggested an alternate. So just, you may want to address that in your motion before you vote on it.
I thought we struck Stacy's name and added the other one, but okay, my bad. All right, so right now, number 5 position is not officially filled yet. So besides that, with that amendment, with an empty slot number 5 as it sits, let's see, I'm going to read it. Council Representatives Chair to be selected by Council. Are we going to do that this evening, or? It would be nice. I'd like to have yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with that. Anyone want to put their name forward? Councillor Wright? Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to do that.
Okay. Councillor Harding? No?
You looking at me?
Well, yeah, you put you sent an email saying you'd like to be on it. But you're but you're no, it's fine if you change your tune.
It's okay.
No, no.
I
Okay.
just wanted to see what the other people around and those that were qualified, but I'll leave it in for now just for interest for now.
All right. So I'll put you on the list. Okay. So now we got Councillor Cornish, Councillor Harding, and Councillor Wright. We're going to have to do a vote. All right.
Just to be clear, this is the chair. Like whoever does this is the chair of the committee. It's not just a member of the committee.
Exactly.
Right.
It's going to be, you're going to be. Yes,
I feel like it'd be helpful to make my vote to just hear the tiniest little bit from each counselor. Just because it's such a broad, diverse topic, because it's not just about the shelter, it's about community well-being as a whole. So I just want to hear from each counselor just a snippet about why they would want to chair this task force, to think about long-term.
Okay. You want to start? Okay, Councillor Harding.
Yeah, good question, Councillor Rodas. Well, I don't think there's anyone in this town or around this table that doesn't know what my views are on the homeless. But I really believe that the approach has been a wrong way. I think that one of the people that is listed on this list, I had lunch with the other day, and I think for this program to work, or for this task force to work, there's got to be treatment. People have got to have treatment. They just cannot sit down there in that shelter. They can't do it. There's got to be treatment. There's got to be, I would be happy to see that, and I mentioned it to Councillor Rodas, that in this new clinic, if there could be 3 or 4 beds that would be designated to the homeless for treatment only, not to stay there, but for treatment. So anyway, I've got 34 years in law enforcement, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character. Yep.
I just love to be involved in all kinds of things, and I do believe that balanced, I guess, view of, like you say, it's about everything involving the community. And this community is near and dear to my heart, so just getting more involved, not any specific reason why I think I'd be a good chair, just willing to step up and be involved.
Councillor Cornish.
I guess the reason I put it in long before I seen the words chair. Having second thoughts, but no, I'm definitely for this committee. I've got a number of phone calls. I've even had one gentleman call me and broke down crying. I've had several people that their wives have taken nervous breakdowns. One people have moved away, so I've been bombarded. I probably would be a value add. I do not think I'm interested in chairing anything. For the last 40 years, every time I sat at the head of the table, I lost a lot of friends. And the two ladies that both volunteered right now, I'd suggest that I'd like to swing mine support over to one of them, and I'll continue with some of the committees I'm on now that I'm trying to handle. So thank you very much for the chance to do it, but the chair part, I'm going to back away from now.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So I just. I just want to kind of explain. Being chair, as same as being mayor, you bring everyone's thoughts to the table. That's the goal of the chair, is to gather everyone's information, help support the group, and move the meeting in an organized fashion, controlled fashion, and so there's a lot to that role. So it's not just about views. Okay, did you?
Yeah, just wanted to reiterate, or just to bring to council's attention that, it's just more than the shelter issues. And I'm just reading through the package again. It says, it says identify priority areas for action. It's mental health, housing, what we just spoke about tonight, community wellness was, bike lanes and appeal in the community and whatever, and food security, inclusion, community safety, and the last one is shelter impacts. So shelter impacts is only one of the things. So we just got to keep that in mind as well. So it's got to be well-rounded. So, thanks.
Okay, so we got 2 standing offers for the chair position. I'll start with, we'll just have a vote, I guess, Councillor Harding. All those in favor of Councillor Harding chairing the Wellness Being Task Force? Oh, okay. Oh, so that means we don't have to vote again. Okay, okay, all right. Congratulations. So on that, so we got the municipal representative, we got municipal staff, which includes Jeff Renault, the RCMP to be determined by the agency, Department of Social Representative to be determined by the agency, the community representative within 300 meters, we will have to fill that position again because Stacey Arsenault has stepped down, and the community representative Peter Stubbs, and Community Representative Anthony Lee Hall, who's here with us tonight. So thanks for being here, Anthony. Yeah, so we'll just wait and fill number 5 position.
Was going to make a recommendation that perhaps council could delegate that final appointment to the other members of the task force. It would just be able to fill the position much faster that way than waiting for another council meeting.
Oh, so fill that number 5?
Yeah, to let the task force fill that position. Like, we'll bring forward applications to the task force.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question about, I was the one I think that brought up the operator before, just because the shelter is a significant topic, and I have some concerns after speaking with some partners in community about operations and ensuring that the shelter is working adequately with community partners, especially with law enforcement around, their pursuits that they need to engage in order to keep our community safe. So I'm just going to put that out there, that I still, even if they are an ex officio member, that maybe if they can't come every single meeting, that's one thing, but I would like to formally ask that Jim Stewart, if a meeting is focused around this particular topic, that he is involved in the conversation, because I feel that that's the only way that we'll be able to move forward if they are operating the shelter. We need them at the table.
Just say something quick though, like the Jim Stewarts in the world can be invited to meet with this task force. Like they're going to bring in lots of people to educate and help learn what's going on in our community as well. It's just not going to be just like ourselves. You gotta reach out and get advice as well. And you wanted to say something, or did I just say it?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, in preparing the recommendation, I did give that thought. Where I landed on it was that the operator of that shelter would be a resource that was available, and should definitely be involved in any of the conversations around that. But to have them as a voting member, I think with the early agenda that I expect the task force to be taking on, that position as a voting member would be in conflict a fair bit. So I think having them as a resource that can be drawn in to have the conversation and then step out, I think it would make the functions of the task force itself run a little smoother. But definitely they'd be a key player as far as an expert resource and someone that needs to be talked to on a regular basis from an operational impact point of view, because that is one of the mandates of the committee.
Councilor Cornish?
Jeff, I was thinking the same thing as you were talking. I see that particular operation is basically almost a contract item. I think it would be, now it's up to Mark, you're going to be the chair of it, that you'll have to make some decisions, your team will have to make the decisions, but I do see that as possibly a conflict of interest, because it's, even though they know what they have, it'd be good to have the input from how it's run, and the RCMP has a lot of dealings with it also, but having a, I'm going to say contractor, I don't know what the actual word is, that's involved in this as part of that thing, I see a little bit of conflict of interest. But I'll leave that up to Mari, because she's chair. She can decide what she wants to do.
Yeah, I just want to keep in mind that this task force is an advising group too, exactly, right? It still has to pass through the municipal council as well, so, but yes, Councillor Rodas.
I just want confirmation from Councillor Harding here that if they had to be invited to the table, that you felt you could confidently sit with Jim Stewart and work with him directly on the concerns that you have in a professional, well thought out manner, and bring it back to council in a very unbiased, professional way, because I feel that you're an excellent fit for this. And I'm going to look to this group to come back to council and say, this is exactly what's working and this is exactly what isn't. And this is how we've involved all the partners at the table. And I know from working as a social worker in community and working in healthcare and sitting on these committees before in the past, it gets very heated and it gets out of hand sometimes extremely quick, because there are so many different partners that are trying to tackle this issue, this particular issue. But there will be a broader scope of issues that need to be tackled. And I just want to let you know, I'm happy to work with you just directly and contact you and I on the healthcare piece of it, because I know there is some funding, I think, available as far as the new clinic happening with some funding around addictions. So I'm going to be tackling that. You and I are on the same page. We need some sort of rehabilitation model here, even if it's 3 to 4 beds. But we can't rely on St. John. So you and I can work on that. But I just want confirmation that if they have to sit at the table, that you can do that for me.
I will promise for you, Emily, I won't rip his heart out. Is that okay?
And you've already been elected to the seat already anyway. But anyway, yeah, all right. So we have, I left off at number 7, and ex officio is non-voting members is myself and MLA Kathy Bacchus as well. And so we'll be in attendance when needed. Councilor Rodas.
Has the MLA been contacted, and did she express interest?
Yes.
Good. That's it.
Okay. All right. So we filled all the positions, but number 5, we decided that the task force themselves will select number 5. And no more questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, I'll take a mover and seconder to accept the council reports be acknowledged and received. Councillor Greenlaw, Councillor Wright, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Can I sorry, could I make a comment?
Yeah.
In my report? Okay, in my report, I mentioned that it's Mildred Smith's 103rd birthday on December 23rd, and like, she could sit here and know what's going on, right? She's that bright. Anyway, they're having a little celebration at Sarah Hall between 2 and 4, and people just drop in and have a piece of cake or just a little chat with her, and she would absolutely love it. So if you get the chance, drop in. It'll be great.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor? They're checking the smoke around you. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, all right, there. Going back to it again, I know this lady very well. My wife and daughter drive her to church every Sunday. 103 years old. I hope, if God spares me, I live that long, I hope my mind is that clear, because she's remarkable. Had the pleasure the other night, it's in my report, I think, there. Anyway, the other one is Dottie. We've seen her on the screen tonight. She has attended everything that goes on, and we have supported her also. I just want to thank my daughter and my wife for that. That's here nor there. But both these people have been a lot to the community, but the other thing I did want to mention, and I don't know if it was mentioned tonight or not, is that the parade that I attended, and I did wave to you. Yeah, and I think I waved to you back there too, officer, sergeant major, whatever. What am I going to call you tonight, Peter? The thing about it is, it was very well executed. The people behind the scenes that put that together, we had a little hard parade thing during the summer. We bounced back, and I thought it was phenomenal. And I come from my career pretty well in St. John, and I don't think I've seen any better parade than that one that we had here this year. And everybody was out there. Thanks again to the people that organized it. And I don't know all their names, but I know some of them. And again, I'm going to cease quiet now and thank everybody that it went over very, very well.
Thank you. You got to keep going. I won't have to say anything. All right. But I am going to bring up that we also lost a very kind and an old mayor of our communities, as well as Doug Hanson passed. When you guys mentioned Sarah Hall, made me think of that. I talked to his son from PEI. He was very grateful, and thank you for taking care of that donation for us, Deputy Mayor. He was very grateful when we had our conversation. Doug's a great man. I don't think there's an event that he never attends. He's got that smile and that look that he gives you when you're doing something, and he's just got, and he's a wise gentleman as well, and a great sense of humor, and I appreciate him. He's always attended the mayor's levees, and when the mayors are sworn in, he's here. I was going through pictures of the past, and it is a huge loss to our community, but may he rest in peace, and thank you for his commitment to his community, which he held that very dearly.
He's also a mayor of amalgamation.
And he went through amalgamation too.
That's my grandmother's dancing party.
Yes. And not that long ago, they were still going. No, thank you. So anyway, I'm doing recognitions of that. So anyways, all right. Next, I'll take a mover and seconder that pursuant to Section 68, Bracket 1 of the Local Governments Act, Council move to a closed session for the purpose of discussing 1, personal matter, 2, negotiation of agreement. I had Councilor Wright and Councilor Rodas. All those in favor?